There is a question that sits underneath a lot of people's faith, not the public question, not the one they ask in sermons or write in journals, the private one. Do I actually know who God is? Not the facts, not the theology, not the correct answers to the correct questions, but the person. Do I know him the way you know someone, the way you know their voice in a room, the way you know what they would say before they say it? Most people, if they are honest, will tell you the answer is no. They believe in God. They pray to God. They may have spent years in faith, but somewhere under all of that is a distance they have never been able to close, a feeling that God is a word they are using for something they cannot quite grasp. If that is where you are, I want to show you something. In ancient Hebrew culture, a name was not a label. It was not arbitrary sound assigned at birth to distinguish one person from another. A name was a declaration. It was the most essential truth about a person, compressed into a single word. To know someone's name was to know something real about who they were. To be given a name was to be given an identity. And God in the Hebrew scriptures does not have one name. He has many. Not because he has many gods, not because the writers couldn't agree, but because no single word can hold what he is. Every name reveals a different face. Every face was turned toward a different human need. To learn the names of is not to memorize a list. It is to trace a map of every place a person has ever been broken, and discover that God was already there, already named for exactly that moment, waiting to be found. The first name is the oldest, Elohim. It appears in the very first sentence of the Bible. In the beginning, Elohim created. The name is plural in form. Scholars have debated this for centuries, but singular in verb. It carries within it the idea of fullness, of a being so complete that one word cannot contain him. Elohim is the God of beginnings, the God who speaks into void and produces light, the God who creates not from necessity but from abundance, when everything is dark and formless, when there is nothing yet. That is when Elohim arrives. Then there is the name that God guards most carefully. YHWH. Four consonants, no vowels. The ancient rabbis would not speak it aloud. They considered it too holy for human mouths. We approximate it as Yahweh or sometimes Jehovah, but the original pronunciation has been lost to centuries of reverence. The name was given to Moses in the wilderness from the fire of a burning bush. When Moses asked who was sending him, God answered in a way that is still difficult to translate. Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I am who I am, or I will be who I will be. The name carries the full weight of existence, not as a past event, not as a future promise, but as a present, continuous, unbroken I am.
When the body fails, when the timeline collapses, when what was promised looks impossible from where you are standing. He has been here before. Then comes YHWH Yireh, the Lord who provides. Abraham is on a mountain with his son. The story is too difficult to rush past. He has been asked to do the one thing he cannot do, and he is doing it walking up a mountain with everything he loves toward an altar. And at the last moment, provision arrives. Not early, not conveniently, at the exact last moment. And the name given to that place and to that character of God is the Lord who sees ahead, who provides not before the pain, but through it, who does not prevent the mountain, but meets you at the top. YHWH Rapha, the God who heals. YHWH Shalom, the God who is peace. YHWH Nissi, the God who is your banner, your covering, the one who goes before you into what you cannot face alone. Every name, every wound. A direct line between a human need and a divine response. And then the names compress into a person. In the New Testament, Jesus does not introduce himself with a theological argument. He introduces himself to a woman at a well who has had 5 husbands and is currently living with a man who is not her husband. He does not lead with her failure. He leads with her thirst. If you knew who was asking you for water, you would ask him, and he would give you living water. The woman doesn't understand the metaphor. She asks for the water so she doesn't have to keep coming to the well. And Jesus says something that has no parallel in polite religious conversation. I know the whole story, and I'm still here talking to you. The name he gives himself that day, I am, is the oldest name. The one spoken to Moses from a burning bush, I am WHOIM. The name that means I exist in a way nothing else exists. I am not contingent on your belief to be real. I am not stronger when you're faithful and weaker when you're not. I simply am, and I am here. This is what the names taken together are saying. Not that God is powerful, you already knew that. Not that God is holy, you already knew that too. But that God has been in the specific shape of human need before. That Hagar's invisibility, Abraham's impossibility, Israel's captivity, a woman's shame at a public well, these are not footnotes in a story about God's greatness. They are the story. The need was the point. The name arrived in response to the need, which means every name is a testimony. And every testimony is evidence that your need already has a name in him. You came here with a question. Who is God really? And the answer the names give is not a definition. It is a direction. Find the name that matches what you are carrying. Go back to the moment it was given. Read the person who was there, read what they were facing, read what arrived, and you will find that someone has already been exactly where you are, and that God named himself after what they needed, which means he already has a name for what you need. You just haven't found it yet.